the Pledge of Allegiance first. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. I do want to just remind everybody that we are masking. COVID masks are required for attendance at Board of Education meetings. And if you do not have one, one will be provided for you. Our meetings are always live streamed. I'm looking at the camera right now. Archive videos you can find at shenet.org, Board of Education, right to the right. There's a drop down. You can find the agendas and the meetings there and go right onto YouTube and watch them. Okay, so at this point, can I have a motion to adopt an agenda? Naomi's first, Bob is second, all in favor. Motion passes. Tonight is a study session. There are no public comments at study session meetings. Study session meetings are designed for the purpose of having administrative updates to the Board of Education. Residents may attend the next scheduled business meeting on November 9th, 2021, and or contact the board via email at boe@shenschools.org with any comments or questions. All questions come into the Office of Public Information Officer and are shared with the board and or superintendent as appropriate. Policy questions, concerns are typically addressed by the board president. Operational questions, concerns are typically addressed by the superintendent and or designee. At this point, I'm going to turn the agenda over to Dr. Robinson for his report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevens. I'll start with, as you see at your table, and it wasn't my creative idea, give all the credit to Mrs. Ford. This is a part of our school board recognition week, and certainly we want to pause to, as a school community, say thank you very much to our board members, knowing that each year we add more zeros to your pay, but it's more zeros that we add to this set, nothing else. On a very serious note, Barry, thank you very much, particularly when you think over the past several months, the board has been engaged in what I would call probably some of the more critical conversations in terms of getting our schools open and supporting the efforts to keep school open. And honestly, I'm hearing perspectives on some of our most polarizing topics, probably of maybe some of our lifetimes, and dealing with those in a very objective way. So I want to say thank you very much for your tremendous support of the things that we do here as a school community, and just a small token of our appreciation. So I would like to ask some of my colleagues in the audience to join me by simply a round of applause. Say thank you very much. Thank you. So appreciate that. And only a quick update as Dr. Wood comes forward. As you know, each day we are moving more and more, either normalizing and or modifying rules pertaining to everything COVID. Just today, if you saw in the news, there's news about the incoming vaccine for age 5 through 11. As a school system, we'll be similar to how we provided opportunities for people to get vaccinated prior to that. We'll be working with county officials in the coming weeks and months to try to provide some access to families who want to have their children vaccinated. So more to come on that as more information and access is provided. We have the tremendous benefit, as Mrs. Stevenson pointed out, in this study session to have some different presentations. And I'm not going to necessarily steal Dr. Wood's thunder, but I just want the board to kind of listen with an open ear in terms of seeing how everything is really connected, what we do as a system. And so you have Dr. Wood talk about the Shen instructional framework. Some great news around some of the things that we're doing for ENL, well, for our students in the biliteracy program, taking multiple languages, as well as some neat things that happen over the summer. Because oftentimes people, especially this summer, we did a lot of neat things for kids. This summer was truly the bridge back to a sense of normalcy for our young people. A lot of neat camps that took place this summer, so we want to provide some update on those as well. So at this point, I'll turn over to Dr. Wood to make those introductions and go from there.
Great, thank you. We are here this evening, and when I say we, Vanessa Kramer, instructional coach, and Sarah Chopp, the academic administrator for ENL and World Languages, representing a much larger think tank that was the group that really created what we're referring to as the Shen learning framework. Sorry. So, okay. Sorry.
Let's change my thing.
Thank you. So the Shen Learning Framework is many things. We'll get to the actual graphic of it shortly, but it really, it provides an overview of what we're looking for and for us to reflect on as our priorities related to curriculum, instruction, and assessment. But the most important part of this document is that we clearly show students are at the center of our work. I think you're going to hear more about that as we move through the presentation on the Shen Learning Framework. One thing I want to emphasize, and I'll be back shortly after Vanessa and Sarah share some information about it too. This document, if you really roll up your sleeves and get into it, it is entirely aspirational. It is like if you were to write down every financial goal you ever had and every exercise goal and every healthy eating goal you ever had to live your very best life and said, now do it. That is what this document is when it comes to instruction. And we were very clear about the fact that we wanted to put all in one place what we believe defines an outstanding program. But we also know that we're all human beings and doing our very best work. And with that, we are always going to be growing and having something to work toward. And that these goals, or what we have outlined in the Shen Learning Framework, will evolve over time as we get smarter and as educational scholars get smarter and as we evolve as a learning community together. So with that, giving you a little bit more detail, I will turn it over to Vanessa.
I was very excited to volunteer to present on this. I think this framework provides a lot of things for our school district. First, I feel like it provides us a model for the interconnectedness of curriculum, instruction, and assessment in the service of the needs of our students in the district. It provides everybody in the district a common language of what is valued and prioritized here at Shenendehowa. And it's really a tool for reflection for courses, their curriculum, instructional practices, and assessment. And in my job, especially as an instructional coach, it really provides a focus for targeted work. What are our goals for our departments? What should our curriculum work be? And I think this framework really provides that for us.
So one of the things that I really appreciate about the framework is that it becomes sort of like a go-to document. So it helps to standardize and clarify expectations all in one place that all teachers K-12 can go to. The other really important thing about it is that it includes equity, diversity, and inclusion into all of its components. It's sort of like a watermark that is covered in all of the components of the framework. And so as an academic administrator, what I really like about it is that it helps teachers reflect on the good work that they're already doing. And it also helps us set goals for improvement, much like Vanessa already said.
Oh, lovely. So here's what it actually looks like in terms of the segments, the curriculum, the instruction, the assessment with the students at the center. And you see that we've labeled the curriculum the what, the instruction the how, the assessment is the how well. In other words, how well are we doing in terms of what we've identified we're teaching students? The instruction, how are we going to instruct students? How well are they actually learning it with the assessment? And then the most important piece, students are at the center, serving as our why. And you see our reflective statements right underneath that really detail this. And then we have off to the left side in blue, if you click on the hyperlink to students, it will take you to all of these reflective statements that really detail what we stand for as an institution, about the kind of environment and academic experience we want our students to have here as human beings. That we want them to have a quality, positive experience here that helps them see their full potential, that they are stretched here, and that they go on and have multiple opportunities post Shenendehowa. In terms of curriculum, being really reflective about the types of things that we're introducing our students to, making sure that they're broad, diverse topics, that we are moving beyond just the basic stuff. You know, we can't be teaching what we taught in the 50s and 60s. Kids are carrying all that around in their pocket now. We have to think differently about what we're choosing to expose students to, what we're taking precious learning time, and making sure students have opportunities to really thoughtfully engage with the content that they're being exposed to. That the instruction is meaningful, that it's engaging, that students aren't talked at for 40 minutes or 80 minutes, but that they have the opportunity to learn from each other, to make mistakes in a really safe environment, and to grow as a community of learners. And that assessment really measures, gets to know what are kids learning in our system, how are they able to show us, how are they able to learn through the assessment, which is different than stopping and assessing. There are multiple ways you can assess students where kids are learning actually as a result of the measure itself. And most of those are project-based, written responses, and then really defining that experience of our students. So when you get some time, certainly you can go into those links. You can start to look at the types of reflective statements that we have compiled in each of these areas. And remember, please, that this is always aspirational and always going to be evolving. There are many ways that we see using the framework moving forward. One of the first ways is goal setting with teachers or teachers who teach the same course. We call those PLCs, so they're working in the same professional learning community. As they sit and review this framework, they will be able to say, this is an area I think we're already doing well. Here's an area we can focus in on. So it will really be used for goal setting. It will also be the basis for curriculum development work. Once you identify the goals that you're looking to, areas to improve upon in your course, that then becomes where you're going to dedicate additional time either during the school year or during the summer to build out the course. It will be the basis for course review reflections. Those of you who have served on IPAC, our Instructional Program Advisory Council, know that for many years we have reviewed courses that are in existence and hearing feedback from the teachers and the leaders of those courses to say, how is this course doing? How are students doing when they take certain courses? And so we will be asking them to reflect on the statements or certain areas of this Shen Learning Framework. We also anticipate that even when we're providing a professional development option or offering, we can go back to the Shen Learning Framework and say, what we're talking about right here ties into this part of the framework. We also anticipate that some of it is going to jump out at us as, our current courses may not cover exactly what we're hoping for in terms of learning for our students. And it may encourage or inspire us to design a new course for some of our the high school to add to the program of studies and really much more. So we are very excited about this Shen Learning Framework. We think it has tremendous potential of pulling together disparate pieces of information into one place. Please know it is evolving, but it is something that we are really going to use as a measure that holds us to a standard to make sure that we are continuing to evolve as an educational system. So that's an overview of the Shen Learning Framework.
Any questions for Dr. Wood?
So in late September, it was presented to us the MTSS, multi-tier service strategy.
Yep. Systems of support. Yep.
Is that part of this? Is that sort of I'm sort of piecing this together, sort of connecting the knots? Is that sort of the how well and how?
The how and the how well, exactly. Like when we know how well students are doing, we will be able to move them through what are the services we're going to provide, or is what we're currently providing meeting the needs of kids, or do we need to change our how so that the how well can be more successful for students? Great question.
The concept of the PLCs, can you talk about that a little bit? And especially, I think at the elementary and middle level, where it's like building by building and how that helps standardize across. Because I think that's something that comes up. You share notes across buildings with friends and stuff. So
yes. So very often when we're talking now about PLCs, we're talking about all teachers of high school biology. So we often talk about at the elementary school grade level teams of teachers, which serves the same function. They are also a professional learning community, but it would be like grade 3 at Carrigan, or there are many times across the year where we meet with grade 3 teachers either through shared communications, all grade 3 teachers, so that there's a comparable experience across our system. But that's exactly the point, is that this sets the standard for the Shen experience, whether you're grade 2 at Orangen or grade 7 at Coda. And clearly, much like any rubric does, you have to look at it from the lens of the learner. So what you are designing in terms of relevant curriculum for a kindergartner is going to look different than how you interpret that as a teacher of 8th grade or a teacher of juniors in high school.
Thank you.
Several years ago, we really took a big stab at block scheduling. And I would describe that as a lot of heavy lifting on the part of the district. It was not just sort of a simple check off. A lot of people had to be convinced. I see this as almost the same thing, both in terms of impact and amount of work involved. Do you agree, or is it less work, or is it similar?
This is something that I think we're going to evolve into over time. Agreed that both are significant and really impact our system in a meaningful way. With the block schedule, we worked on an 18-month kind of stretching out timeline. And that's what, right, then we started. And in fact, right now, our teachers are really committed to designing lessons that are engaging students in the 80-minute block, which is a challenge, but we also see the benefits of doing so. This, much like that period of time, we will continue to grow into this. We're going to find new and different ways of integrating it and seeing its relevance. And I think we're also going to find that there are some statements that we have in there that are unclear, that we want to revise. So I think we're going to grow with this document as a system.
So before we go off Bob's question, to tie this right back to this, Bob. So the block scheduling is a singular initiative. It's a part of the how we deliver instruction. Because we change how we deliver instruction, we also, not the structural piece of it, then we also talk about how does professional development, as was pointed out before, how does professional development come into enhancing the how? You have to then talk about how curriculum has to change. Back to the framework. So what a framework does is that these things that seem like big initiatives, it actually brings it into a very common sense and logical sequence that if we're going to change this, we need to be prepared to address this, because we're coming from the center of the impact on students. And so what this does is kind of look at it about your perspective about it's a decision-making tool that we use prior to even making a decision, in executing the decision, as well as assessing the effectiveness of that decision. The block schedules are perfect. We went through the how. A lot of hows. We went through a lot of PD, still going through PD, how to get effective delivery. Now we start understanding what curricular changes are taking place. So that's evolving. And even the assessments are taking place, how we assess kids. And ultimately, that's coming back to how is this impacting the impact on the student experience. And so this is the power of this framework, that you go from something as large as shifting the block schedule to something as direct as we're going to buy a new version of a textbook. And sometimes people say, well, isn't this like an arbitrary decision? No, because we got to drag it through the process. We bring a new textbook in place, that's going to change potentially instruction. That's going to pertain potentially assessment. That's going to change potentially the experience kids are having. And this framework ensures that we're exercising that same kind of fidelity with every decision. And that's the beauty of it. And so we can't get lost on that because everyone has a good idea. This is saying that let's put all these good ideas to this hopper and see if the good idea is still a good idea in terms of the impact on students. That's the beauty of this moving forward, because as we look to transition as a system, or should I say evolve as a system, we need a mechanism to ensure that that evolution is consistent, and so we can predict our outcomes before we even make the decision. That's the beauty of the framework. I mean, that's truly the beauty of the framework. It's that overview that everything has to be looked through those lenses.
So the only thing I'm going to add, and I think it's right in sync with what you're saying, is when you're serving on iPad, you see this, but you also see this when you're serving on Didact too, as far as how the technology is going to make the instruction possible, how it's going to affect assessments, training, whether we have an online textbook or a hardback textbook. So it makes sense. It pulls everything together. We're getting the real high level view of this. But when you get into these committees, you get down into the, and it takes years, like with block scheduling, that was years ago. Laptop, the Chromebooks, was that 6-8 years ago? I mean,
Easily.
yeah, and so, but it's a good thing because it better positioned us for when we went into this pandemic. We had the ability to do things that otherwise, the kids would not have been able to continue learning, as far as I'm concerned. It would have been much more difficult, not stop altogether, but, so I think this is great, and thank you for all your hard work in making it possible.
Yes, thank you to all the contributors in the design of this, because this has really been years in the making, and we know we're not fully done yet, but we're also ready to roll forward and start learning from it. Great, thank you. So with that,
Thank you, Allison.
we are going to shift to a presentation from Sarah Chaffee, our academic administrator for ENL and World Language, on the Seal of Biliteracy. The Seal of Biliteracy is one of many things that we've worked on in the system, really designed to provide students options, but also to recognize their efforts in our system. And so with that, I'll have Mrs. Chaffee take it away, and I'll talk for the presentation.
Oh, that would be great, thank you.
So thank you so much for having me here tonight to talk about the Seal of Biliteracy. It occurred to me as I was standing here that I think the last time we really spoke about the Seal of Biliteracy, we were just sort of getting it off the ground, and I think it was part of a presentation on our ENL program. And I'm standing here before you to say that we are in our 3rd year of implementation now, and it is so much more than a program just for English language learners and even world language learners, and I'll talk to you about why in a moment. But first I want to make sure that I remember to say, just to give you some numbers, to give you a sense of how much we've grown just in 2 years, this year being our 3rd year. Our 1st year of implementation, we awarded 139 seals to our seniors that were graduating that year. It was just under 50% of the students who were eligible to earn the seal. And then in 2021, we awarded 236 seals to seniors, which was 86% of the eligible students. So the program has grown rapidly. I'm super excited to talk about it with you. So with that, let's talk a little bit about what the Seal of Biliteracy is. So the purpose of the seal, as Dr. Wood mentioned already, is to really recognize and celebrate high school graduates who have attained a certain level of proficiency in reading, writing, speaking, and listening in one or more languages in addition to English. And by the way, we do have students who have earned the seal in more than one language plus English. We've had students earn it in 2 other languages, and it looks as though we're going to have several more that will do the same this year as well. So why offer the New York State Seal of Biliteracy? So one of the things that is so unique about Shenendehowa is, and you've heard me say this before, we have 50+ languages spoken by the students on our campus and our families. And so right from the start, the beauty of the Seal of Biliteracy is that it celebrates students and it celebrates being multilingual. It helps prepare students for the 21st century. It looks great on a college transcript. Colleges are looking to see that students have done something like the Seal of Biliteracy. It's also really important to share with employers, because employers want to know when when their employees are proficient in more than one language, right? So there are a bunch of really good reasons to pursue the Seal of Biliteracy. One of the things that we, just a quick anecdote, one of our members of our Seal of Biliteracy committee actually overheard a student in an interview in a restaurant in Clifton Park, and the student said, I have a Seal of Biliteracy. So we know that kids are out there and really celebrating that too. So how do students earn the Seal of Biliteracy? So the real beauty of the Seal of Biliteracy is that our programs were so rigorous before we even started to explore the Seal of Biliteracy that many of the components that students need to complete in order to earn the seal were already built into their current coursework. So I'll give you a sense of how most Shen students earn the seal, but know that there are several pathways for students who have unique situations. I'll give you a couple of examples. So
Ultimately, students have to earn 3 points in English and 3 points in a world language. So the majority of our Shen students earn their 3 points in English by earning an 80% or better on the English Regents. That will earn them 1 point. And then to earn 2 more points for their total of 3 on the English side, students complete a project that shows their proficiency in speaking, reading, writing, and listening in English. And what's really great about this is that this project does not need to come from an English class or an English course. We've actually opened it up in the last couple of years so that students can use a project that they've completed in a biology course or in a social studies course. So it really also brings in other content areas as well, even though I know most people associate it with world languages. So then students also have to earn 3 points in a language other than English. Again, the vast majority of our students do that by earning an 85% or better in their Checkpoint C course. That's their SUNY 1 language course. And they complete a different project that's wrapped into that course, similar to the English side, but it shows proficiency in reading, writing, listening, and speaking in a world language. And so I mentioned earlier that we have other pathways. This is how most kids do it. But certainly we have kids with unique situations. We have lots of students who are multilingual, who speak another language at home, but who are not in a Checkpoint C course, or they speak a language that we don't teach on our campus. And that's actually one of the things that as a committee, we're really looking to improve upon this year. And that is, how do we capture all of those students who are not currently in a language course, but who speak another language at home? Because we want to make sure we're celebrating them too. Many of those students are English language learners, and many of them are not English language learners. And so keeping them on our radar has been a challenge, and especially in the first couple of years. But we've come up with some solutions to that. And so we're, as I said earlier, we're starting to see an uptick in the number of students who are coming to the committee and saying, I'm not in a world language course, but I speak Korean at home, or I speak Marathi at home, or I speak a language that I had to look up, which is Hausa. So we have this tremendous richness of languages, and students are starting to come forward and be celebrated for that. So the other couple of things we're looking to improve as a committee is that promotion. Part of that is to capture as many kids who are eligible as possible. I met with a lot of juniors a couple of weeks ago to talk to them about the Seal of Biliteracy and give them some information on it. Lisa Kissinger and I are teaming up tomorrow evening to hold a virtual parent information night. I'll be talking about the Seal of Biliteracy. Lisa will be talking about the pilot for the Seal of Civic Readiness. We're also looking to partnership with more community members. We see that there's a great possibility here for us to partner with families where the home language is other than English. And we also really would love to be able to have some kind of culminating celebration this year. We wanted to do it our first year, but obviously COVID didn't allow for that, and same as last year. So if possible, we would really like to have some kind of celebration for our students. Thank you.
This is exciting.
So exciting.
My daughter, Olivia, graduated 2021, and she got it, and I think it is. It's what they work for too.
Yeah.
And they can take it with them, and people do look at that.
Yeah.
So tremendous job. I think you guys have really come a long way.
Thank you. And I want to make sure that I say that I stand here as the face of the Seal of Biliteracy, but I am by no means, there are so many people that have been involved with this, so many language teachers, ENL teachers, parents, students, counselors, folks from other disciplines really who are supporting us. So it really is much further reaching than even I realized when we started.
Oh, tremendous. Great job.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thanks. All right, and moving on, we now, if the summer folks want to start making their way forward, led by Scott D'Ambrose, we have our lineup of leaders from the summer who helped organize programs that provided opportunities. If I was really on my A game tonight,
I would have done a count of the number of people impacted total, students and adults, by our summer programming. And it would be mind-boggling. I mean, I guess you probably could just go through and add up while we're talking and figure out. It is significant, our programming over the summer. And so we're pleased to be able to be back this year and have our program leaders with us, providing a very brief overview of the kind of sphere of the summer that they were working with and what some of the positive outcomes were from that program and or their challenges faced. So we start off with Scott D'Ambro, our summer literacy program coordinator.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Wood, and thank you all for inviting us tonight. I'm Scott D'Ambro, and I want to tell you something that was wonderful that happened this summer. Our program this summer was phenomenal. We welcomed enthusiastically our youngest learners, our 4-year-olds, right through our 5th graders with open arms. Due to the times, it was a little different and a little more nurturing, but I'll tell you, it was wonderful for both the adults and the children. With that, what we did was, like Dr. Wood said, our program is strictly child-centered. Everything is based on the child. Of course, we look at the New York State standards, and then we address what the students exactly need, and then we go from there. And as the program progresses in the summer, we change what we need to change, we flex what we need to flex, and we make sure those children leave us with not only the information and the practice, but also the confidence that they do need to become better people and stronger individuals within our Shenendehowa community and within our world. As you can see up there, we focused on reading, writing, and math. Again, we worked in all different areas with small groups of children, of course, safely. With that, we collected data and we learned from that. As Dr. Wood said, you learn from your assessments and you grow from there. My staff is extremely talented and professional, so they did their best and they did a phenomenal job. Let's see what else here. Not only did we work on the academics, but also the social emotional, which Caitlin Fahey Devani will talk about as well, where we're in a period of time where it's not only about the 1+1 and all the math and all the reading, it's about building people. And that was extremely important, like I said. And that was also for the staff. We were very excited as a team to work through all 8 elementary schools coming together as one. So the teachers came from all different buildings and they worked together beautifully to make the best program they possibly could, and also to make themselves feel better. Because in a time where we're all a little rocky, this program brought everyone together. And at the end, we take a lot of our information and we share it, of course, with Dr. Wood and all of our administration. And also we pass that information to the teachers in the fall and the administration of all the different buildings so that they know right where to jump off the board. Instead of waiting and waiting, they have the information and they're ready to go. So thank you very much, and thank you, Dr. Wood and Dr. Robinson, for the ability to do it again, and Dr. Jill Bush, thank you again for your help.
Now we have Caitlin Fahey, who is new to coordinating the ENL program this summer, but we'll give an overview of how the program went at the elementary and secondary level.
I just wanted to start that I am not Adam Sweet. I know he did it for the past 100 years, so I took over this year for him. So it was my first experience as the coordinator, and I worked collaboratively with Scott D'Ambro. Lucky enough, we both work at Octave together, so we were able to bounce ideas off each other before the program even started. The main goal of our program is to make sure that our English language learners not only retain the skills that they learned during the school year, but we also build upon their skills throughout the summer. This summer it was particularly special because many of our English language learners were virtual learners. So this was the first time that they were coming back to an in-person setting in over a year and a half. So this was a way to have us acclimate them back into the school culture, both the students as well as the families, making sure that they felt comfortable just getting on the bus in the morning. Not only did we focus on the social emotional piece, but we were lucky enough, we have that transitional phase where a lot of our students are going from using the iPads to the Chromebooks. So during the summer, we were able to expose them to those new technologies, which they could carry over into the school year this year. So I thank you. This is my first board meeting, so I thank you all for listening.
Great. Thank you. And now we have Jennifer Lee Alden, who led the
principal for our summer school program.
Good evening. So you see some statistics up here, some numbers, and I like that we do this meeting in October because it gives us a chance to reflect at the program that we've done. It gives us a chance to breathe after we worked hard this summer. And I have a little bit of data to share with you. When I grew up, when I was growing up, we were told to work hard in school because we didn't want to go to summer school. We were told that this was a punishment. If you don't work hard, it's a consequence for going. And I think that's one of the things we've really been working hard on these past several years, is to say that the summer school programs are opportunities for kids. And I'm really pleased to say to you that we welcomed 525 unique students to our program. And to give you a little perspective, I glanced back at 2019, the last time we were in person, and that number was 224. So we really have given a lot of opportunities to kids, and I really think that's important. I want to thank, before I forget, the transportation staff, because if they didn't bring those kids to us, then we couldn't do our jobs and do it well. And so we need to give a shout out to them as well. I did break down a little bit of the data for you, so you can see in grades 6 through 8, we offer English and math remediation for students, and we did, with the help of Sarah Chaffee, bring back the checkpoint A for some students. So we had a total of 14 sections in English 6, Math 6, in 7th and 8th grade, which is an uptick with 196 students taking at least one of those courses. I'm happy to share that 11 students passed their checkpoint A's with us, which we're very pleased for. In grades 9 through 12, I broke it up for you. We had 24 sections across the English, Math, Social Studies, and Science for 205 students. I separated out the hybrid health because hybrid health is a little bit unique. That's like an accelerated program, if you will, not remediation. Students that take summer school health with us, they get to earn their credit that they don't have to take during the regular year. And so that we had 154 kids take that, as most of them in 9th grade going into 10th, but also for some other kids that couldn't fit there in their schedule. Taking a look at the total number of sections with 46, taking a look back to 2019, we had 32 sections. So you can see in some courses, we actually doubled our enrollments. We doubled the number of courses that we offered for kids. 154 students earned their Regents exemptions, and in that case, it was that they attended class and passed the class, which that upped our numbers. And I was so pleased to share a graduation experience with 16 more students that graduated with us in August. The next slide, we're talking about meal count. So an extension of the regular school year last year was we were able to offer free breakfast and lunch to all of our students. If you take a look at the data there, a big shout out to Katie Headwell and her staff that did our meals for us this summer. If you compare 2,319 breakfasts in this summer to 2019, 837. That was the first year that we offered the breakfast and lunch to a bigger population. And then take a look at those lunches. So almost 2,600 lunches were served compared to almost 900. So again, a big shout out to them. Our programs were fantastic, and we welcomed some great kids and some great educators that gave up their time this summer for us.
Thank you. Woman who needs no introduction, Michelle Mila, Director of Special Education, on behalf of Liz Sadaka, the summer school principal for Special Education's extended school year program.
Good evening. So as you know, our extended school year program for students with disabilities is specifically for a subset of students who, due to the nature of their disabilities, requires an extended school year or 12-month program. And that is for students who demonstrate substantial regression over holiday breaks or weekends. And so we measure that by looking at their IEP goals, and we collect data regularly. And when a student misses a period of school and they are not able to recover their baseline from where they started before the break, after reteaching, they may require extended school year services. So you can see we offer both a half-day program for students who demonstrate regression in their math or their reading skills. And then we also offer a full-day program for students who demonstrate regression, typically in academics, social skills, adaptive skills. They may also demonstrate regression in their speech and language, OT, PT, any of their related service areas. We had a principal and assistant principal this year, a behavior specialist, speech therapist, and the gamut of related services working with our students. And we were fortunate enough to reinstitute this year our field trips, which really help with the summer 6-week program. So as usual, it was a success, and we look forward to another school year.
What kind of field trips? Sorry.
We have field trips. They are educational field trips, but they are not going to a museum per se for 6 hours. So we do field trips for our full day, our students who are in full day program, and they're often social field trips with a learning experience attached. So for example, one of our field trips was a trip on the boat on Lake George. And that's a nice trip because they get to learn about Lake George. They are able to get off and on a boat with support. And it sounds like it is something that many of us take for granted with our children, but many of our students in our extended school year program, we're working on those community skills and how to function in the community, how to be safe in the community.
Thank you.
That's just one example. There are others.
And now John Conover, who leads the ever popular Shen Summer Adventures.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Yeah, I can assure you I'm really smiling under this mask because I have really good news to tell you, as I do every year. And it's one of those things where we are presented with a challenge this year of will we be able to make a comeback? And people ask me, do you think you're going to be able to come back? Will you get kids to come back to school? And I said, I like a challenge. Challenge is good. Let's see what presents us. Boy, I was wrong. It wasn't a challenge at all. We sold out most of our programs. If you look at our numbers of all the different programs, we have almost as many programs, our kids coming back to our programs as we did pre-COVID, with taking that year off of not being there last year, which is a great thing for our kids to have, and a great thing that our programs are still really viable and really good programs for kids. Most of the programs filled the capacity, and a couple of them did it in 2 days. So I left school on Friday. I looked, and there were 551 kids signed up for one camp on Sunday night. So that's never happened before. So we see that, and we said, okay, we got to see that early, and we were like, so there's a need in this community. And the biggest need we saw was a need for connections. And that was our number one goal through all our programs, for kids to make connections with one another, kind of get together again, and reestablish those friendships that they had, seeing each other every day, doing those fun experiments and fun activities that they were doing in school. And now they're back at it, having a good time. We had new restructured workshops, new programs, new plays for kids to act in, 3 different ones: Addams Family, The Jungle Book, Matilda, Junior, lots of fun stuff for kids to do. Had our first ever virtual camp for our high school students, of ELA camp, where kids got to work on writing, creative, and for college. They also had a lot of individual experiences with our new music lessons program we brought back. And we said, let's take the idea of music lessons from an individual standpoint and bring them kind of back in the summer, almost running like a camp, but more of like individual lessons. And we were able to get those kids to improve. So all of our camps ran. And the only reason we had less kids, and it wasn't a huge number of less kids, because it was something that we had to cut back a little bit because of the space issue with COVID protocols. And we were all conscious of that. So I think for what we did and trying to make this comeback, I think we were really successful. But the biggest thing, I think, was the connections the kids make and the positive feedback that they gave to us on a daily basis of having fun and doing all those things and learning back together. I think that was our biggest accomplishment of the year. So I think it was a successful comeback. Hopefully we'll get more and more normalized as we continue our program in our future. So thank you guys for supporting our programs and supporting all these kids, all the great things they're doing.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Thank you, John. And now, I don't know, when I pick up the mouse, let's do that.
Hand it to the adult. So Vanessa Kramer is going to talk us through some of the work that we did with the adults this summer, professional learning for our educators, and also curriculum development.
Thank you, Dr. Wood. I'm happy to present on behalf of the professional development team listed here. We offer courses throughout the summer to our teachers and staff In addition to seeking out any teachers who feel like they have an expertise that they could share, this summer there were 49 unique courses offered to our teachers and 157 participants. Some of the examples of the courses that we offer, obviously block scheduling was a huge initiative at the secondary level, organizational culture, the science of reading, Jamboard, work within Vision Math program, grading for equity, instructional technology, reimagining learning. Now that we are going through all of this, it really does have an impact on how we're delivering instruction and supporting students with disabilities. In the picture that you see behind me, these are the nurses getting trained for COVID testing. In addition to the courses that we offer, professional learning communities also come in and try to get as much work done for the next academic school year, and they do a lot of creation. And the work really focused this year on curriculum, assessment, and working in the block schedule. Some things that were highlighted in this slide, a baseline survey was created for our middle school students to check in on their social emotional learning. It's very important as they come back to school. A skills-based rubric for high school English was created. A professional learning framework for special education, Soundwall K through 1. A block scheduling template was created for all of our 6 through 12 staff to use to really think about chunking the block and making it multiple engagements so the 80 minutes is broken up and the kids are not sitting. Curriculum was created for the ISD FSD health course, and in world language they created formative and assessments for listening and speaking. And I think this is my 21st year at the school district and my 5th year in professional development. I am so fortunate to have a benefit of all of these courses that I can take in the summer to continue to grow and learn, and I never want to take that for granted. So thank you.
Thank you. So the general overview of what was happening here, and by my quick math, the impact was over 3,000. But then I realized it doesn't count all of the teachers who were teaching the various courses, so even more than that. But obviously, substantial amount of work happening in the summer months to really make sure we're ready to roll come the school year. Thank you.
Mrs. Bush, here for the approval of staffing recommendations.
Yes, thank you for having staffing this evening. There's just a few appointments. There are no retirements on this board agenda.
Any questions for Mrs. Bush? Okay, can I get a motion? Bob is first, Jason is second. All in favor? Motion passes. And I think I have one action item, and it is contract approval for the CDWG. Can I get a motion? Bob is first, Stacy second. Oops, Stacy, I thought I saw your name. Adjourn. I was looking for it. Any comments or questions? All in favor? Motion passes. For the good of the order, I neglected tonight to say, because I thought he would have, I know Mr. Gilbert is not here tonight. His son had a concert, so that is where he is. Probably did not let out yet, so I wanted to let everybody know that. Does anybody have any topics for tonight? Bob?
Yeah, something I mentioned earlier, which is the multi-tier system of supports. I believe that's the right use the acronym, but on the my partnership meeting with Carragon, with Scano, I brought this up because I want to get a sense of how our schools are today using data, using what's out there, and I left with the impression that we're trying to do it, but the system isn't there. That's why we have MTSS. I think our educators have something to be really excited about as we evolve, as Dr. Wood mentioned, to bringing forward something that gets us out of this anecdotal world where you feel like you're doing the right thing, but you don't really see the impact of it. But the teachers did bring up some great examples of what we are doing today, and this illustrates how we're kind of scratching the surface. The Scano special education teachers had the nicest things to say about Mrs. Mylott, because unbeknownst to me, at the end of every year,
she sends out to all the special education teachers the names of the students that are graduating, and they get to see, how far they've gone, and, whether it be from elementary or middle school or high school. The fifth grade teachers are starting to see some potential to see how their kids are doing in middle school, but they really can't see a lot. I'd say it's very anecdotal, and I think teachers are seeing that, okay, they start the year up here and they end up here. But there's not much, and where I think this thing fits is particularly the summer school programs. I mean, we really don't have anything firm that says, students that might be falling behind, but then they attend summer school tend to excel that second year versus a student that doesn't go to summer school. And I think we're in a place where over the years, as this thing evolves, we'd be able to present things to parents that would, some type of a message backed up by numbers that would say, your kid probably would benefit by going to summer school. Granted, you have a lot of vacation plans, but this is what you're looking at if you participate in our program. So I look forward to a lot of these things coming together, because I do think this is something that will stay with us, become part of how we do business here much better year after year. So thank you for that. Second thing was NISBA. So we did have a business meeting.
Virtual.
What first resolution passed, probably 98% agreeing, and we're already seeing some testimony from the NISBA legislative group, really our lobbyists as a school board, presenting very specific things aligned to that resolution. So I think they're already running with that very hard. But what happened with climate change, another district had one, and they presented it more of a funding opportunity, funding stream expectation. And when we presented ours, we lost 45% to 55%. So we lost on 5%. But the message we picked up, I picked up, was a sense that we had used language, and I take the blame for this, that created perception this was an unfunded mandate. So moving forward, when we do any of our advocacy, we really want to understand how other groups might perceive it. There is in New York State, amongst a lot of school districts, if someone gets a sense of that, they're going to knock it down. Or at least 55% of them did. So I just wanted to pass that on. Thanks for all the work put forward. I think now we want to pivot to what we want to do next for advocacy, because what's coming up sometime in March, I assume there will be time with our elected officials. And that's where I think we want to craft a message that where we as a district stand, and I think we'll look forward to doing that in the next few months. So thank you very much.
Thanks for all the work on that, Bob.
So I just like to also respond to that, I was actually sitting there with someone else while watching the vote and listening, and that individual I mentioned earlier, Lynn Howard, I've reached out to her because I do think there is an education that goes with that, how to draft that, and I'm going to be seeking her counsel. But because something like this isn't going to wait for a school, I mean, these things are happening as we speak. So, but being sensitive to language, and because especially when you know that there is a concern, say, specific to unfunded mandates. Making the changes to address that concern, because that wasn't really the intent.
Yeah, I agree.
So hopefully I'll have something to bring back and share, but I'm going to be meeting with her and we're going to be talking about that.
Does anybody have anything else tonight? Okay. Hearing none, can I have a motion to adjourn? Buster's first, Jason second, all in favor? Meeting is adjourned.
Good stuff.